It's so easy to see which variable is actually moving the needle for my clients, and you don't end up competing with yourself in the auction. Hello, I'm back. Made it through. Thanks, guys. Really, really appreciate it. So today, I'm going to be talking about machine learning. Is Facebook smarter than a media buyer? Now, before I get into things, I just want to know, from a show of hands, how many of you guys think that hyper-segmentation and manual optimizations is the key to beating the algorithm? Any hands? I see a couple shy hands. Okay, that's okay. I just want to get a vibe for how the audience is feeling. But this will be a great speech then for all of you guys. So my name is Savannah Sanchez. I work at an agency called Common Thread Collective. And what I do is I manage the media buying teams. We do solely e-commerce and do Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Google ads. And how I got into this world of media buying is I actually have a marketing data science background. So I got my MBA in marketing science, and I used to work at other agencies that focus solely on Instagram growth, organic growth, but I really wanted to get into the paid social side about 2 years ago. So I took a job at this agency called Common Thread Collective, where I worked as a media buyer. And I got to work on some really big agency accounts for e-commerce, working on Facebook ads, and I absolutely love the data side of it. I was always optimizing data, pulling things through Excel, Supermetrics, RStudio, trying to find the best way to optimize my campaigns and to suck every bit of efficiency out. So coming from a stats background, Facebook media buying was just a really great fit. So after working at the agency as a media buyer for a year, I ended up getting promoted after a very successful Black Friday last year, was working on the agency's largest accounts. And now what my current job is I'm training media buyers. So the agency is growing over 3 times this year, so I had to hire a bunch of media buyers and train them how to do Facebook ads for e-commerce. And so in this journey of now being a manager, trying to train people on Facebook ads, I realized it was actually really complex to try to teach what I was doing in accounts to brand new buyers. First of all, there's just a very large experience gap in the market. So trying to find media buyers who understand Facebook buying and can scale accounts, there's just not that many of those people out there. So first, it was just very difficult to find people. And then once I did find the right talent at the agency for media buyers, I found that it was very difficult to train them on my way of optimizations. So what set me apart as a media buyer was that I was always in accounts, I always was doing optimizations through Excel, tearing through the data, but to teach that to a new buyer, I found to be extremely difficult. And then another agency problem we were facing. So as of last year, we started just seeing some plateauing results for our clients. It was getting harder and harder to scale. It wasn't as profitable as our campaigns were in 2017. Getting into 2019, things were getting very difficult for Facebook advertising. So as this all was happening, as I was becoming a new manager, training media buyers, Facebook released this framework called the Power 5. And this was released in February of 2019. And what the Power 5 is that it's Facebook's framework for saying that machine learning is going to help advertisers optimize their campaigns, and that there's much less need for very heavy manual optimization by a media buyer. And one of the developers that released the Power 5 actually said this quote. He said, "The ways of manually hacking your way to ad success are no longer," which is a pretty bold statement, especially as a media buyer. I was thinking, am I out of a job? Is media buying dead? But really what Facebook is trying to say is they're trying to level the playing field between small advertisers and large advertisers. And they want to make it easy for people to enter the market and to be able to efficiently optimize their campaigns. So the first 2 tactics of the Power 5 are auto advanced matching and account simplification. And these serve to help optimize your campaigns while utilizing Facebook's machine learning. The third and fourth and fifth tactic of the Power 5 is CBO, automatic placements, and dynamic ads. And these serve to help automate the process of media buying and make things a lot easier by relying on the algorithm. So the robots are coming. I was very excited about testing the Power 5 because how Facebook pitched it to us as an agency was that account management was going to get so much easier, so much less time intensive. Plus, they said that by following these Power 5 tactics, that my clients would actually receive higher results, higher return on ad spend, and more scale. So as I was trying to train all these media buyers, I was thinking, okay, if this actually works, then this can save a lot of time in accounts, can make it so much easier to train media buyers. Plus, if it's true that I can attain more scale and get better results utilizing the Power 5, then it seemed like a win-win. So I was skeptical, but I tested it out on all of the agency's accounts, over 50 ad accounts, spending anywhere from $0 to $1 million in ad spend. And it became very clear that machine learning is much more efficient and clearly outbeat a media buyer from what we used to use in our previous tactics. So our previous tactics of manually hacking our way to ad success, spending every day in Ads Manager, breaking out different audience segments, all of those tactics were beaten by just simply utilizing the Power 5. So signal-based machine learning is simplifying account management and driving better performance. Now, signal-based machine learning may seem like a buzzword, but it's so important to understand what a signal is, because this is how Facebook is optimizing your campaigns. So a signal is all the information that Facebook is receiving about their users. So when someone adds something to the cart on their website, when someone's visiting a product page, all of users' past history, past purchases, ads they've interacted with, Facebook has all this information, and they use that information in order to serve relevant ads to them. So it's in Facebook's best interest to provide the lowest cost advertising space for the advertiser, while at the same time making sure that Facebook and Instagram users are seeing ads that are extremely relevant to them so that they spend more time on the platform. So it's a win-win. So how machine learning works in the Power 5 is that it's taking these signals about customer data, their purchase history, their websites, and using those signals to inform decisions and optimizing ad accounts. And just to show you, these are a few of the brands that I have worked with that have successfully used the Power 5. And these are accounts that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month of ad spend. And I was able to achieve better results and a much more simplified account structure just by utilizing the Power 5 methodology. So here's the Power 5 again. And I know my speech today is specifically about campaign budget optimization and my testing with that. But what's so important to understand about the Power 5 is that these tactics don't work best when they're used in isolation. The whole point of the Power 5 is that these tactics are used in tandem. So you can't use campaign optimization without properly leveraging automatic placement, the simplified account structure. You could, but you're not going to get the same results and fully take advantage of the power of the platform by using these in isolation. So that's why I think it's so important to fully grasp all of the concepts of the Power 5 before specifically diving in to CBO. So the first Power 5 tactic is auto advanced matching. And this is by far the easiest thing you can implement in your ad account. What auto advanced matching allows you to do is, so when people are checking out on your website, entering in their phone number, their email, or filling out their email to subscribe to a newsletter list, Facebook will take that information and match it with users on Facebook. And what this will do, it'll help increase your remarketing audiences. So when you're remarketing website visitors, you're going to have more people in that pool because Facebook's able to take all of that information that people are entering on your website and match it to Facebook users. And also, it's going to improve attribution, which is, of course, as marketers, one of the problems we face every day. So this is improving attribution. And to show you guys, this is how auto advanced matching is set up. You go into Events Manager, and you just toggle on this button. And then you're set up. It's a set and forget method. It's all you have to do, and it will be able to improve your attribution and help increase your remarketing audience sizes. The second tactic I want to talk about is dynamic ads. So I'm sure any of you who are running e-com have probably been leveraging dynamic ads for a while. And what this is you have a campaign, you set up a catalog sale objective, and then what Facebook will do is when someone's viewing content or adding something to cart on your website, it'll show people relevant products to stuff they have viewed. And so what's really powerful about this is, again, it's very much set and forget. You upload your product catalog list to Facebook. Facebook's taking the pixel data of everyone viewing the products on your website, and then it's showing people relevant products. And then another thing that Facebook has talked a lot about this year is dynamic ads to broad audiences. So not only can you use these dynamic catalog sales ads to retarget people into your website, but Facebook can take signals of people who have never even heard of your brand, but may be interested in similar products, have interacted with ads that are similar to yours, and they'll show you the catalog of your products to a broad audience. So essentially, it's dynamic ads for prospecting. And then the ad on the right, that's one of my clients where I actually uploaded a custom catalog so that it would show lifestyle images to a cold audience, since I believe it looks a lot better than product on white. Now, to go beyond dynamic ads, because I'm sure many of you have been utilizing dynamic ads for a while now, but what I'm sure maybe not all of you are utilizing is dynamic creative testing. And dynamic creative testing, I'm convinced, is one of the best machine learning features that has been released by Facebook to date. And so what dynamic creative testing allows you to do, again, it's simple setup. On the ad set, you toggle on a switch that says dynamic creative on. And what you can do is on the ad, you can upload different videos, different images, top text, headlines, and Facebook will dynamically test each of those variations against each other and tell you which is the best combination for your target audience. It's very cool, and it's completely revolutionized how we creative test at our agency. So to show you the old way we used to media buy, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate to, if we wanted to do creative testing, testing out different thumbnails, headline, top text videos, we would have to build out each variation as their own ad. Not only was this extremely time intensive, but also it was very difficult to get statistically significant learnings on each variable. It took a lot of budget in order to spend enough on each variable to know which was actually driving performance for our audience. So the new way of creative testing, and what I've been leveraging in all my ad accounts, was dynamic creative. So uploading all the different variations, but it's all within one ad. And then Facebook is dynamically testing each variation against each other to find which combination is going to perform best for your audience. And to show you a bit about the setup, so when you toggle on dynamic creative on the ad set level, when you build the ad, you'll be able to upload different photos, different videos, and then if you want to see the results of your dynamic creative, all you simply have to do is go into the breakdowns in Ads Manager, and you could break down by video, headline, top text, so you can see the best performing variable for all of your creative testing. So this has allowed me to be able to build creative testing much faster and also get creative results much faster. So I can use less budget and be able to get statistically significant results to tell my client within even a week. So this has completely revolutionized the way we are creative testing. Plus, the way the algorithm works is that the more creative variables that you give the algorithm, the better it can optimize. It optimizes on the user level. So if they know one person is more likely to convert from a short form video versus long form versus image, it's going to serve the variation that that person is most likely to convert on. So it's going to be in your best interest from a performance perspective as well to be utilizing dynamic creative testing. The third tactic of the Power of 5 is automatic placements. And this is something that's also been available for years now on Facebook, but it's gotten more and more powerful in recent time. And what automatic placements allows you to do is you can upload your Square video or photo, whatever your creative asset is, and Facebook will test it on Facebook news feeds, Instagram news feeds, stories, audience network, all of the available placements. There's 17 available placements now that Facebook will test your creative on. Now, the old way of media buying would be that maybe you select feeds only, or you select whichever placement you wanted to test. But where automatic placements is very powerful is that it knows which users are most likely to convert on which platform. And also, it'll go after where is the lowest cost conversion available. So news feeds might be very expensive, so they know that someone may purchase on Instagram stories instead. So they're going to be able to drive lower costs over time utilizing automatic placements. So I wanted to show you an example of one from my client. This is a client called Pup Socks. And what I did is I uploaded my Square image, and these are the results from the different placements off of $35,000 of ad spend on this one creative. Now, what you guys might see right away is, oh, right-hand column was at an 8x. I should scale right-hand column. and feeds was the lowest ROAS. But the question you should be asking is how much scale was I able to get out of each of these placements and how much spend? So I will show you guys the breakdown. And as you can see, although right-hand column audience network had the highest ROAS, it also doesn't have that much inventory, didn't have much scale. Where feeds, even though it had lower ROAS, was able to get a lot more scale while maintaining ROAS at my goal. So I talked to a lot of media buyers, and a lot of media buyers will push back on automatic placements, and they'll say, I only run on feeds. Feeds convert the highest, they have the most scale, but what you're missing out on if you're just running on feeds only is the opportunity to show your ads at a lower cost conversion. So I showed the breakdown on the screen. If I was just to run on feeds only, I would only be able to achieve a 2.5x ROAS and 31K of spend. Whereas because I opened up to automatic placements and letting Facebook serve my ads on cheaper opportunities for inventory, like audience network stories, and I'm able to achieve more scale, 37K, and higher ROAS by taking advantage of these lowest cost placements. And we tested automatic placements across the entire agency. And what we saw is a 23% lift just by toggling on automatic placements. Again, this is so simple and extremely revolutionizing the way that we're testing. It's eliminating the need to test out every individual placement, and we're allowing Facebook to use the algorithm to serve our ad where the individual user is most likely to convert at the lowest cost to the advertiser. The fourth tactic, and I must say is probably my favorite tactic of the Power 5, is account simplification. So this year, we've revolutionized the way that we buy on our agency accounts. We're minimizing the number of campaigns, and we're consolidating the account structure to follow Facebook's best practices. And to show you, this is how we used to buy, and maybe how some of your ad accounts currently look, with hundreds of different ad sets, hyper-segmenting out different audiences, different placements even by creative type, and you end up with an ad account that is an explosion of data. And it's so hard to spend on each individual ad set and get statistical significant learnings, as well as there's often so much overlap between audiences. So between all of your lookalikes, all of your interests, you end up competing with yourself in the auction and bringing down your costs, or bringing up your costs. While also, it's just extremely time intensive to manage an ad account that is this built out. Whereas the new way with account simplification is having a minimum amount of ad sets, so consolidating audiences together, similar audiences, broad audiences, putting them in your funnel, and then utilizing minimum campaigns. And what this will allow you to do is, because you're utilizing broader audiences, you're going to be able to get through your budget more efficiently, because the algorithm has the signals in place of who is your ideal person to purchase. So if you give Facebook a broader audience of who to serve to, that it's not putting any limitations on the algorithm. And also, because it eliminates a lot of audience overlap by having hundreds of different ad sets all competing with each other, you're going to be able to get better delivery and also get out of the learning phase faster. The learning phase is so crucial and important. It's so important that you're out of the learning phase so that you can be at the full optimization efforts that Facebook has available to you. By having hundreds of different ad sets, you're not going to be able to get statistically significant learnings on each individual audience, and it just gets very hard to see what variable is actually working. So I wanted to show you guys how I default account structure my campaigns. So I have the classic prospecting top of the funnel where I'm showing a cold audience and I'm utilizing broad interests, lookalikes, and then utilizing dynamic creative testing and campaign budget optimization. Then I have my middle of the funnel, which is my re-engagement audiences. I'm targeting people who have interacted with the Facebook page, Instagram, video views. And then finally, bottom of the funnel is remarketing. So people who have been to the website, past purchasers, all across the board, utilizing CBO, account simplification, automatic placements, all of the Power 5 tactics. And then lastly, the DPA, dynamic product ads for remarketing. And if any of you guys want a copy of this, I'm going to be at the Facebook ad mixer later today after the speeches. I'm happy to email you a copy if you didn't snap a photo. And to show you visually what this looks like for my campaign, so top of the funnel, I have UGC, people talking about the product, keeping it very authentic. Middle of the funnel, I start to get more product focused, so I move away from the UGC, PR, and now I'm talking very much about product benefits. And then bottom of the funnel, those dynamic product ads, I'm showing people the products that they viewed on the website. And this is what it ends up looking like in my ad account. So it's a very simplified structure. It's so easy to see which variable is actually moving the needle for my clients, and you don't end up competing with yourself in the auction. So it's truly a win-win having a simplified account structure. Finally, we're on to campaign budget optimization, which is my favorite topic to talk about because it's a bit controversial. So for those of you who don't know, campaign budget optimization is actually becoming mandatory in 2020 for all advertisers. So I'm sure a lot of you have been testing and trying to see how to buy on campaign budget optimization and if it can achieve the same results as manually choosing the budgets for your ad sets. So I've been drinking the CBO sauce, also a sauce available at McDonald's, because I am in love with the abilities that campaign budget optimization gives you. Because you're allowing Facebook to decide which audience to put your budget on, it eliminates the need to be constantly managing budgets and to be doing those very intensive hourly optimizations, but instead leveraging Facebook's platform, and they choose which audience to serve your creatives to. And this is how you toggle on campaign budget optimization on the campaign level. Toggling it on allows you to do is you're going to choose your daily budget for the campaign. So if you want to spend $500 on your campaign per day, you choose 3 to 5 different broad audiences, and then Facebook will decide with that $500 where the best opportunity lies within each of those audiences that you select for your ad sets, and will dynamically put budget towards the ones where they think you're going to get the lowest cost results in real time. So the old way of media buying, which may be how your accounts are currently. Without campaign budget optimization on each ad set, you would have to choose your budget manually, and then by the day or even hour, maybe you have automated rules set up, you're choosing different audiences to put your budget to. But now with campaign budget optimization, you are setting your campaign daily spend on the campaign level, and then Facebook is choosing in real time which audience to put the budget towards. So some benefits of campaign budget optimization, most obviously, 0 time managing budgets while lowering your CPA. So not only does campaign budget optimization drive better results, but you're getting that precious time back so that you can focus on the things that actually move the needle, like creative, strategy, your offer, your website. Those are the things that make the biggest difference in your ad account. And so now that you can spend less time managing budgets, you're going to have that precious time back to work on the levers that truly make a difference. The second thing is that decisions are made off future outcomes. And what this means is that Facebook understands in each ad set where the lowest cost conversion lies, and it will automatically distribute that budget towards where it thinks the lowest cost conversion is. Whereas a media buyer, so if I was an ad account, I don't have access to any of that data that Facebook has about its users and when and where they're most likely to convert. So all I can do as a media buyer is make decisions off of past outcomes, which is often very inefficient. I have an extremely limited data set because I only know past information about my campaign. And even if I'm using automated rules, it's always based off past data, past CPA. Facebook has the data set of how they think that their users are going to interact in the future. So their data set is just much more powerful and can make better decisions than an individual media buyer has access to in terms of data. The third major benefit is that it deduplicates audiences. So if you have 5 different audiences within a CBO, you don't have to worry about audience overlap. If there's the same person that lies within multiple audiences, Facebook will just move the budget towards one, but it won't put the other one in the auction. So what this allows you to do is you won't end up competing yourself and driving up your costs. Facebook's algorithm is smart enough so that it'll just put the budget towards one of the ad sets while ignoring the other, so that you're not competing with yourself in the auction and running into delivery issues. And lastly, but probably most importantly, is that CBO avoids restarting the learning phase. And as I mentioned, the learning phase is so important to get out of, in order to fully optimize your campaigns. And what Facebook recommends is getting at least 50 conversion events a week in order to fully optimize and to be out of the learning phase. But if you're not using campaign budget optimization and you're changing your budget daily, hourly, using your rules, what it does is that every time you make a major change to the ad set, it's resetting the learning phase. It has to relearn who is most likely to purchase on this ad set with your creative, and you're never going to get out of that learning phase and into the true mode of optimization. So that's why CBO is so important, because you set your budget on the campaign level, you let it go, and you let Facebook fully optimize and learn on your audiences and your ads. Now, there are some downfalls of CBO, and it requires a volume of pixel data. So like I mentioned before, the signals. Facebook has to know who your ideal customer is. So if you don't get a lot of website traffic, not a lot of purchases on your website, it's going to become very difficult for Facebook to figure out who inside these broad audiences are most likely to convert. So it is important to have a seasoned pixel and to have enough pixel data coming through on your website so that Facebook can fully optimize. The second is, of course, less control with campaign budget optimization. And as a media buyer who used to pride myself off of manual optimizations and diving through the data, that's just no longer needed. And I'm giving up control to Facebook to best optimize my budget, which is a bit scary. I completely understand that, especially if you're seeing right away that maybe results aren't as good with CBO as your prior manually optimized campaigns. But I think this is probably the biggest concern with CBO, and something that I have to talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and media buyers to get over, is almost this fear that Facebook is not working in your best interests. So I hear all the time from media buyers, they say, if I let Facebook choose what to do with my budget, they're just going to blow my money. They just want to take my money. But that's a very short-sighted way of thinking about Facebook and its true value. What Facebook wants to do is it wants to provide the lowest cost advertising for its advertisers, while again showing relevant content to its consumers, people using Facebook. So because Facebook wants advertisers to put more budget towards Facebook, to scale on Facebook and not move to other platforms like Snapchat or TikTok, it's really in Facebook's best interest to provide the best results to their advertisers. So although Facebook is making CBO mandatory and it seems like it's giving up a lot of control, just know that Facebook does have the advertiser's best interest in mind, and it's going to use these algorithms in order to get you lower cost results. Now, the CBO challenge. So I posted a few months ago in an ad buyers group, I said, is anyone up for the challenge to manually buy on a campaign versus a CBO campaign where it's set and forget? And I'll show you guys the post. I was in Tim Bird's Facebook ad buyers group, and I said, will a robot take your job? Do you take on the challenge if you were to buy against a CBO campaign and see which one would win? I was genuinely curious. Maybe there are media buyers outside of my circle and my agency that can outbeat the algorithm. I was completely open to that. So I got 95 comments on here. A lot of people wanted to prove me wrong, that a robot will not take their job and that CBO is not as smart as their media buying tactics. So I was able to enlist a media buyer friend of mine, Eric, acquaintance. He was up for the challenge of trying to beat the algorithm. And then I told Facebook about this experiment, and they were so excited to prove the value of CBO, they gave me a $10,000 coupon to test this out. So how it was set up is that Eric would get $5,000 for my client, and then Facebook CBO would run another campaign, and we would run it for 2 weeks and see which one would get the better results. And I talked to Eric. I'm like, so how do you media buy? Like, tell me about your process. Why do you think you can beat the algorithm? And his tactics were very similar to what I hear other media buyers say. They say to look at ROAS, CPA per day, what's the AOV for that ad set, what's the cost per add to cart, unique checkout, looking at all these metrics and then making rules about when they would lower budgets and raise budgets based off of these if-then statements. So if CPA is lower than this, then I'll put budget here, etc. So that was his media buying process. And then I found a client. One of my agency clients, Road ID, was of course very keen to take on a 10K free ad credit from Facebook for a test. And so they sell identification wristbands. So people who go on runs, live an active lifestyle, maybe they're out biking, they want to be able to have a form of identification in case something bad happens and emergency services need to be able to identify them. Average order value is around $30, and they spend around $80K a month on Facebook ads. And this is important because this account has a lot of pixel data. They've been running this account for a couple years, so it's fully ready to take advantage of Facebook's optimization techniques. So here's the setup. 5K to the CBO campaign, and then 5K to the non-CBO campaign. So that came out to $357 of budget each day per campaign. For the CBO ad set, or the CBO campaign, it was completely set and forget. You could not adjust budgets, you could not turn off ad sets, you just had to let it run for the full 2 weeks. Whereas for Eric's campaign, the non-CBO, he was able to make daily adjustments on ad sets based off of which one was performing best based off his own decision making. He could also turn off ad sets if he found that one wasn't performing as well. But in both campaigns, you cannot turn off ads. So we left the creative as a completely constant variable. I did not want that to affect the campaign results. So creative was constant. It was always turned on. Nobody was adding in new creatives throughout the 2 weeks. Again, utilizing the full spectrum of the Power 5, automatic placements, optimized for purchase. I utilized lowest cost bidding, as well as doing worldwide targeting. So I'm essentially allowing Facebook to find the lowest cost conversions within any country. They were able to ship to any country, so it made sense to set it up as worldwide. And then here's the interest I chose. So like I said, utilizing a consolidated campaign structure, I'm utilizing very broad interests. So I know that this product is very big with outdoor enthusiasts, so biking interests, running, accessories interests, and the interests are the same for both campaigns. And then something I've also been utilizing is detailed targeting expansion. So when you're entering your interests on Facebook, there's a little check mark under your interests where you can choose to expand detailed targeting if Facebook thinks it can find a lower cost conversion outside of your detailed targeting. And what that essentially allows you to do is give the reins to Facebook, say, hey, I think my people are within this running interest. However, if you think someone's going to convert based off the signals that you're getting from them, and they're not in this interest, you can go ahead and serve it to them. And here's some of the creatives that I utilized in this campaign. So I wanted to use a wide variety of assets, again, utilizing dynamic creative testing. So I uploaded a few different photo variations, different videos, different headlines, different top text, and I'm letting Facebook dynamically test each of these variations against each other within each ad set. And just anecdotally, out of these 4 creatives, the unboxing video on the far right was by far the best performer. I think it's just very authentic, it shows the product, and I thought it was very interesting that that was the one that Facebook optimized to very heavily. And so here is the results. This is the CBO test. As you can see in the beginning, it chose to put a lot of budget towards audience 4, but was still testing each of the ad sets pretty evenly. So it gave all the ad sets a fair chance as it was optimizing, and then over time, you can see that it really liked audience 1. And so it started putting more budget towards audience 1. It decided that audience 2, the yellow audience, it decided that one was complete trash. It just completely stopped putting budget there. And that way, the algorithm is just optimizing and learning and choosing which audience to put the most budget to. And so here are the results of CBO versus non-CBO. Now, in the first week, Eric was actually beating CBO. I was getting a bit nervous. I'm like, maybe this CBO isn't all it was cracked up to be. So as you can see, the orange lines, non-CBO is actually winning. But this is the thing with campaign budget optimization. You have to give it time to optimize. You have to get on a learning phase, have to get enough pixel data on each of your ad sets. And once the campaign started optimizing, then CBO just shot up and completely was beating Eric's efforts. So like I said, with CBO, it does take time. So you have to be able to let it set and learn for a bit. And don't get too jumpy about turning it off if it's not getting results right away. So here's a question I also get from people who are concerned about CBO. They said, shouldn't CBO just put the budget towards the one with the highest ROAS? I mean, if that's the whole thing of it, it's going to drive lower CPA, then that's how it should work, right? But that's not always how it works. Because I said that Facebook optimizes campaign off of future data, of data they know about their consumers that the ad buyer doesn't. Although one ad set may have a higher return on ad spend at the time, they know that that audience is exhausted. There's no more lowest cost conversions within that audience. So they'll move the budget towards another audience where there's other lower cost conversions. But a media buyer wouldn't see that. They would just put the budget maybe towards the one with the highest ROAS and the best leading metrics, when in reality, that audience could be completely exhausted and there's no more scale out of it, so it has to move the budget towards another audience which may have a lower return. And so here's a breakdown of how the spend was between the CBO versus non-CBO. So as you can see, for the audience number 4, Facebook put a significant amount of budget towards that. That one had the highest ROAS. Same for audience 1. But as you can see, as you keep spending on each audience, what Eric did, so he probably saw that audience 2 was doing really well, but he put more budget towards it, but it ended up diminishing the returns. So that's the problem with having a media buyer optimize your campaigns versus an algorithm, is that they can't see that there's no more lowest cost conversions living inside that audience, so that it's no longer profitable to keep putting budget there. And the final results, CBO versus non-CBO. CBO had the higher ROAS of 1.69 versus a 1.62. Now, although that's not by a very large margin, because if it was a magical thing, CBO, if I could just switch on CBO and start printing money, I would be a billionaire. But I'm not. CBO provides marginally better results, but the real savings is the time savings. Eric logged 10 hours of managing that one campaign over 2 weeks, where the CBO, there was no budget modifications. It was just set and forget for CBO. So you get that precious time back, and with that time, that way you can put that towards more higher value activities, like working on your creative strategy, your offer, your product. So getting that time back out of ad accounts and utilizing that to actually grow the business, that's where the true value of Facebook's algorithm is in campaign budget optimization, saving you time so you can focus on those bigger levers. So how to set up your CBOs, lookalikes, broad interest audiences. I always turn on interest expansion in case Facebook can find a lower cost conversion. 3 to 5 ad sets per campaign. Dynamic creative, if not, I'll allow 3 to 5 ads within an ad set. Utilizing automatic placements, so again, utilizing the full spectrum of the Power 5. Conversion purchase optimized. So if you're running e-commerce, I always optimize for the event that I ultimately want. So ultimately, I want people to purchase on the website, so I'm going to optimize for purchase conversions. And then for bidding strategies, if you need scale, if you need to be spending a consistent amount on each ad set, then or campaign, then I would recommend lowest cost bidding. Whereas if your goal is to be the most efficient with your ad dollars and you don't necessarily care about how much you're spending per day, then I would recommend a bid cap or a cost cap strategy, which is going to give you the most efficient ROAS possible, but just not as much scale. And then lastly, my tip with CBO is give it time to get out of the learning phase, have enough pixel data in order to fully optimize. So if you're going to run this test on your own ad account, which I hope you do, just give it at least 2 weeks, and I had $5,000 per that campaign so that I could have statistically significant results. So now what to do with my time. So like I said, I'm not in ad accounts as much anymore, doing the day-to-day optimizations all night, all weekend, managing budgets. Now that I have this simplified account structure, utilizing the Power 5, I'm spending pretty much all of my time focused on the creative testing aspect. So utilizing dynamic creative testing, testing different angles to unlock new audiences. So messaging angles, long form, short form, UGC. My entire focus now in terms of Facebook is doing creative testing instead of audience segmentation. So the fastest growing advertisers create 11x more creative, which resulted in 3x more revenue. So I know some of you guys might be thinking, how do I get 11x more creative? So what I've been doing for my clients is these UGC type videos, making it very authentic, filming it with my iPhone, boomerang style, unboxing, application videos, testimonials, and these are all filmed on my iPhone, and just to get the volume of creatives up. But what I found this year is that this style of advertising was actually working better than the very produced creatives that we would do in the studio, because they're authentic and because they're designed to convert on Instagram stories. They're native to the platform. It looks like your friend or an influencer could be posting it. So I would highly recommend, if you're trying to get a volume of creatives, get a bit hacky with it, utilize your iPhone, get your friends the products. That's usually where the best creative comes out of, in my experience. And so lastly, if you're spending less time in your ad accounts because you're utilizing CBO and the Power 5, this is where media buyers can really shine in 2020, focusing on the offer, so testing different offers, different pricing, what deals are on the website. That's made a huge difference in ad accounts in my experience. The top advertisers are also focusing a lot on story. So what story your ads are seeing, what story are they seeing at the top of the funnel versus bottom of the funnel, truly a creative testing focus. And then experience, so customer experience on the website, post-purchase experience. These are the biggest levers that are going to make a very positive impact on your ad account. It's not as much about manual optimization anymore. These are the levers that are make the biggest difference. So lastly, I'll leave you with this thought. It's not about effort, it's about outcomes. So what I mean by that is that it does take a lot of effort, the old way of managing Facebook ads, having hundreds of ad sets, all this testing. But if you can achieve better results and get your time back to focus on the more important variables such as creative, then you're going to end up getting better results in the long run while also getting that precious time back. Thank you guys. This was awesome. Thank you for listening. And if any of you would like to debate me on CBO, which I'm sure a few of you in the audience will, I'll be at the Facebook Ad Buyers Mixer after a couple of these speeches. So I hope to see you there. And also my email's up there if you want to just personally reach out to me and ask me any questions about this, or I can send you the deck. That's totally great as well. Have a great day, guys.